Somebody's texting me. We're going to start without them. That's what I'd have to tell them. We're going to have to start without them. Hey there. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, whatever you need to feel right for today and start this week off well. We wish that for you this season. And what a great crowd. Thanks for being here. We have some great speakers this morning. I'm Mindy Tate, CEO of Franklin Tomorrow, and I'm in a festive mood. I don't know if you can tell. And my lights are on. I try not to have them flash because I don't want to be responsible for giving anyone a stroke, including myself. So we welcome you to Frank Talks. As you know, Frank Talks is held every second Monday of the month at various locations across the community. We love being at Columbia State, and we thank Columbia State Community College for hosting us. This is a great meeting space, convenient. And now that you've been here once, you'll know where we are the next time. Though probably in January, we will be in another location and try to move around a little bit in 2023 as we're all getting our bearings about us and more facilities open up and are willing to host events like this. That's always a challenge, is finding a location that can hold 70 to 80, sometimes 100 people. So if you know of somewhere that would be able to do that, we would love to hear from you. And so thank you so much. But we're going to start and by thanking our sponsors. Williamson Medical Center is our sustaining partner for Franklin Tomorrow, and Renaissance Bank is the presenting sponsor and partner for our Frank Talks series. So Greg Brory is here from Williamson Medical Center, and he's got a little message for us. Do I go forward?
Thank you, Mindy. On behalf of the team at Williamson Medical Center, Williamson Medical Group, Bone and Joint Institute of Tennessee, we are happy to be here. And we want to wish you, before we forget, a happy and healthy new year. One of the best decisions that I made this year was to start a position at Williamson Medical Center in January. And we've got, so this morning, 303 positions open at our hospital. So if you know somebody that's looking for a job, whatever experience they have, please visit our website, williamsonmedicalcenter.org. We would love to interview them and give them an opportunity for 2023. We've got Michael Phillips, one of our employees, here to share a message.
Williamson Medical Center is a place I look forward to coming to work every day. I don't really call it work. This is my second home. We have a great group of people that work here, tremendous caregivers. They treat people like they're their family. My mother was a nurse, and my brother, who's always been my hero, was a surgical assistant, and he encouraged me to get into the field, which I did and don't regret one bit. If I were a young person looking to get into the medical field, the surgical field is an excellent place to be. It provides opportunity for vertical growth, and you will find people who are supportive in your growth process. So if you're a patient, or if you're a person that likes to take care of people, this is where you want to be.
And that slogan for this year is really true, more for you close to home. And with 303 positions open, we know we need to help them find and fill those positions so that we can continue to have a wonderful community-based hospital facility in our community. We are very, very lucky. So Renaissance Bank, we're going to hear from Harrison Crabtree, the Williamson County President, in a few minutes. Tony, you going to come up and introduce us, or you got anything to say about the end of the year?
Well, I know you were looking for a place that holds 100 people, and Harrison's house could probably hold that. Yeah, I'll give you his address later. No, just want to say thanks to everybody. We're glad to be a sponsor for this past year, and looking forward to sign on for another year. So we really see lots of customers in here, and we appreciate your business. And I always have a funny video, of course. So as you know, most of you know, I'm an Alabama fan, so this one hurts here. So I'll let y'all enjoy. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the final boarding call call for SEC Air Flight 1 with nonstop service to the college football playoff. All teams, please feel free to board at this time.
Make us proud. And looks like you're the only one on this flight, so feel free to spread out and good luck.
All clear for doors closing.
Wait! Wait! Woo! Off to the college football playoff. Just gotta scan this real quick. Boop, 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 boop. Off to make the SEC.
Sir, can I see your ticket, please?
Certainly.
Sir, what is this?
It's just a running tally of every miracle, upset, stars aligning, wacky scenario that we needed to squeak into that number 4 spot and completely enrage the college football world. As you can see, everything worked out exactly as we needed, so, on to the playoff!
Sir, I think there's been a misunderstanding.
No, it's all been worked out. Saban went on every ESPN show that would have him completely laid out our playoff argument while in the arms of an angel played delicately underneath.
And what playoff argument was that?
Alabama.
Anything else?
Well, not that it's needed, but we are the hottest team in America right now. You ask Austin Peay if they want to get rolled by the Tide again.
Well, that's not exactly.
And the way we limited Auburn to only 2 100-yard rushers in the Iron Bowl, I think it's pretty cut and dry.
Uh-huh. So what about those teams in front of you that only have 1 loss?
Well, who do you think Vegas would have favored in those games?
I'm guessing the same team they favored in those Tennessee and LSU games.
Ancient history. Plus, those losses are not part of my cherry-picked assessment of my team's performance, so let's just stick to the facts, okay?
And what about all those times you said that this year's team didn't deserve to be in the playoff?
You will not rob me of my opportunity to get boat raced by Georgia in the playoffs. It is college football's newest tradition, and it must be kept alive.
I think the committee has spoken.
So we're just supposed to sleepwalk through the Sugar Bowl with our upset alert at DEFCON 1?
Another great college football tradition as sacred as the Rose Bowl.
People of the airport, they are trying to keep Alabama from the college football playoff. Join me in my riot!
Anyone?
I am at the gate between Sbarro and the Sharper Image.
It's fine. I have a grandma in New Orleans anyway. I haven't seen her in a while.
And I'm sure she can't wait to see you. Bye now.
This episode was brought to you by Renaissance Bank. Understanding you.
That was a good one. So once again, a big thank you to McDonald's for being our coffee sponsor, and I hope you enjoyed the donuts from Krispy Kreme this morning. So we have a great review of 2022 and a preview of 2023, and we have a full program. And we're going to let our guests sit in the audience for now because Matt Largent, oh, no, Matt's not here. He's on the video that he and I recorded the other day because he had a conflict this morning. So we asked Matt some questions, and he gave his assessment of 2022 and what he is looking ahead to 2023 for. So we'll play that video with Matt.
Hi, folks. So we wanted to record this prior to our Monday Frank Talks because Matt Largent's unable to be with us, but it's an important part of any kind of review of 2022 and preview of 2023. So Matt, happy to have you with us today, even if it is remotely. So tell us a little bit about how your 2022 was in economic development.
Sure. Thanks, Benny. Thanks for having me. And I apologize. I can't be there in person this morning. 2022 was a good year. I think the biggest takeaway is Williamson County. Of course, we're not immune from what happens nationally, internationally, but it's a really resilient economy. We saw this in 08 and 09. We're seeing it now with either in the impending recession, or some people say we're already in the recession. Things have been all things considered pretty good in Williamson County.
And how does that play in the economic development field when people see the kind of results and the information that you are able to share about how resilient Williamson County is?
Yeah, I think it really resonates. I mean, companies are looking to mitigate their risks. That really is what it's all about an economic development. How can I find a location where I can mitigate my risks when it comes to finding talent, when it comes to regulation, when it comes to taxes? There's a lot of things that companies look at, but really it's risk mitigation. And the best people we have as the best salespeople for our community are companies that have recently relocated or expanded here. And in 2021, 6 companies moved their headquarters to Williamson County. Now, the biggest challenge right now is, what are people going to do with their offices? That's a question that still has yet to be answered. We know hybrid work is here to stay to some degree. We just don't know what that degree is yet. It varies a little bit from company to company, but for the most part, it's about 2 to 3 days in the week. And that at some point will have a big effect on the commercial real estate market. We just don't know when or how. And so companies aren't really looking to make location decisions until they can decide that. They can decide how much space they need. Then when I think that question is answered, we'll see the floodgates open back in for companies who are fit for Williamson County, those companies that bring really good, high-paying jobs for our friends, families, and neighbors.
So what was the biggest surprise of 2022?
Yeah, I think the biggest surprise, we kind of touched on it, was the resilience of this economy. We ended the year with 69 ribbon cuttings. That's only, I think, 5 or 6 off a record back in 2018. So people are still willing to risk capital. They're really willing to risk hiring in this environment because they really bet on themselves and they bet on this county. So I know it's a bit of a broken record, but I really think the resilience of this economy has been probably one of the nicest surprise so far, or in 2022.
So what is one lesson you learned in 2022?
But the biggest lesson in 2022 is really how we're delivering our services and our value proposition to our members. And that looks a little different. I mean, from what I mentioned earlier, people not being in the office as much, what does it look like when a lot of the value comes in the opportunity for people to meet each other, make connections, and do business with each other? So we've pivoted and changed how we've delivered that over time. So that's probably one of the biggest lessons. And we'll keep doing that. I mean, our goal at the end of the day is really simple. It's to help companies grow their business and to help grow the economy of Williamson County in a thoughtful and strategic way.
So what are you looking most forward to in 2023?
Yeah, I think we're looking forward to, I think getting back to a level of normalcy when it comes to company relocations. We're working some really exciting projects that, again, the timeline's not ours. We don't have any say over the timeline, but I think that's something that really excites us, is some of the projects that we're working. And then I think it really is, optimizing everything we do to make sure we're serving our community and our members in a really thoughtful way. And we kick off the year, Mindy, as you know, with our semi-annual trip to Arizona, to the Scottsdale region. That's a community that's grown incredibly fast. And we want to learn some lessons from them in terms of what to do and what not to do. Anytime we go to one of these communities, we learn as much about their successes as we do failures, and how we can adapt. And it's not about making Williamson County the next Scottsdale. It's about learning these lessons from these really fast-growing communities.
So it's always a luxury, but if you could turn back time, what would you change about 2022?
Yeah, I'm not sure I would change anything. I think we had a really good year as an organization, and more importantly, as a community. And this is really still a strong economy, again, broken record, right? But we're just so fortunate to live in a place like we do in Williamson County. I mean, I think post-pandemic has shown how fortunate we all are to call this place home.
So is there anything that I didn't ask you about that you'd like to tell the audience?
No, I think you covered it really well, Mindy. I appreciate it. Again, I apologize for not being able to be there in person this morning.
Well, no problem. And happy holidays. Merry Christmas.
Happy holidays.
Thanks so much.
Bye.
So thanks to Matt for doing that with us. We really appreciate that. So we're going to have our panel come up and join us. And Eric, we're going to start with you. So we've got Eric Stuckey, Franklin City Administrator, Alan Arender, who is with Holiday Properties, the owner of the factory at Franklin, Kyle Schultz with the Williams County Association of Realtors, and Harrison Crabtree with Renaissance Bank. And so we provided you those questions in advance, but we also want to give you a chance to make your any remarks you want to, but Eric, we'll turn it over to you.
Great. Good morning, everybody. Great to be with you all. Great to see you. So should I jump into the question, Mindy, or no? Okay. I will tell you the question, the biggest surprise in 2022 was a great holiday party conversation starter over the last week. Because Mindy sent that, and I'm like, wow, that's kind of an interesting question. What is that? And so I got some interesting responses, been thinking about it a lot myself. There are a couple things I'll touch on. And I guess I'll start global and I'll work back. How about that? I think the fact that internationally you saw the invasion of Ukraine happen, like sovereign countries invading each other, it felt like it's the 1930s or the 1940s. It just struck me. I mean, just that happened. So I know that doesn't necessarily affect us here, but it's our world, and that kind of aggression can happen. And our world is kind of, you sort of sometimes tell yourself, well, that can't happen now. We've learned those lessons of history. Well, maybe we haven't so much. So I guess that struck me. I agree with what Matt said in terms of the strength of the local economy, and what we've seen has been remarkable. We've seen it in every festival, kind of almost record attendance at those. People are excited to be back and engaged. Our economic activity has been remarkable, to the point that when we projected our budget and our sales tax, we sort of discounted, because it was so strong this last 12 to 18 months, that we did not maybe grow that as much as we might normally, because we just felt it was abnormal, because the growth was so strong in terms of just the economic activity that we saw. Matt talked about the number of 5 or 6 headquarter operations identifying Franklin and coming here. We saw over 1.7 million visitors come to our community, which is really remarkable. We benchmark the hotel occupancy and average rates, and we sort of index it back to 19, and it's blown 19 away. So, I mean, those are all really strong. Our unemployment rate in Franklin is the lowest in the state, any city in the state, at just about 2%, which is a good news, bad news situation. Honestly, if you're an employer like the city of Franklin, we have about 750 employees. Retaining and attracting the best is a little more competitive than it's ever been, and I'm sure you all are seeing that in your business. We heard about that at Williamson Medical. The thing I would offer, and I don't want to offend anybody, but I think it's something we got to think about. We saw some of the dysfunction, the discord that has been part of our national political landscape for far too long. I fear some of it's seeking into our local environment, and that concerns me. Because part of what makes a community work is that you care about each other whether you agree or not, okay? So we gotta challenge ourselves in 23, because if you're just gonna get along with people you agree with, you better tell Santa you want a really big mirror, all right? Okay? So that's a challenge I'm making to myself, as well as how do we make, and we have hard discussions and we have disagreements, and that's not wrong. But how we do it and how we find a way forward is really, really important. And I feel like, and maybe it's some of the disorientation that hit us in 2020, in 2021, in the first part of this year, that may be a byproduct of that. But let's be intentional about it, heading into 23, about how we do that. And I applaud Mindy and what Franklin Tomorrow has done around putting some focus on civility in that discussion, but I think that's really, really important. So you can tell I care about that. So that's my answer to question number 1. Do you want me to stop there and pass the mic, or do you want me to keep going? Okay. What's the next question? One lesson learned. Well, I guess I would go off of that last point, the importance of kindness and the importance of how we deal with each other. Even when we're dealing with hard and serious stuff, we can do it with grace and with kindness towards one another. So I think that's my thing, and maybe that's my my lesson going forward. How do we deal with things and live in a very fast-paced community and do work that is challenging, but do it in a way that is true to our values as a community? People chose Franklin because it welcomed them, it accepted them, whether they grew up here or they came from any other place. And so I think that's part of a community piece too, and how we how we make that part of of who we are, our DNA as a community, I think is important. So that's my lesson, that we stay true to that, because I think that is a community value without question. You ask about what I'm looking most forward to in 2023. We have a lot going on. We have really picked up a lot of steam. We started a 10-year horizon on our capital investments, and when I did one of these several months ago, I talked about some projects, but there's a lot of momentum picking up with that. We will have Franklin Road paved by the end of this year. We won't probably have the final coating down. Yes, so that's good. We've seen the benefit of the Mac Hatcher extension, which opened about a year ago right now. So we've seen that through this last year, but that kind of infrastructure investment really matters. We'll be bidding the McEwen improvements just down the road here, probably by the end of next year, and that will be a significant project, significant improvement. We've got 3 big parks projects that have been bid or will be bid. We awarded the bid for the pedestrian bridge and trail connection from Harlansdale over the trail system at Chestnut Bend that winds all the way up to the rec center and all that area. That has been awarded. That will start in January. It's about a 15-month build. That's huge. We'll be bidding in the first quarter of next year the first phase of the Southeast Park, which we're working on a name for that. Stay tuned. And so that will be really important. That will be play fields, rectangular play fields, so think football, lacrosse, rugby, all those things, and that will be critically important, but probably the flagship of that is our first all-inclusive playground, LEG's Dream World. So if you have on your Christmas list, you're looking for donations, you can, of course, go donate to One Gen Away. But you can also donate to the playground at the Southeast Park, LEG's Dream World, which will be a fantastic, all-inclusive, all ages, so we can play together. So that's going to be really cool. Let's see, the other parks project we're going to bid, Bicentennial Park. Yes, we are going to build Bicentennial Park before it's the Tricentennial. So we're going to get it done.
When was
It's
the
been a long time
bicentennial?
coming, but it's going to be a great project.
What year was the Franklin Bicentennial? Was that 1996?
1999.
99, okay.
I just want to point out I came to work here in 2009, so we're working on it. Yeah, we were working on it, but it has been a running joke, but it is a great facility. We will restore the pavilion where Georgia Boot had been, and that we're going to restore it to something like that, but it'll be something greater than it's ever been, and that'll be a performance venue. It'll be a place we can send the smaller festivals that we don't want to close downtown for, but we want to bring the community together. We can do that there. So that will be really awesome to see. We'll continue doing roads and trails and sidewalks and those little smaller projects that make a big difference. One of the other things I didn't talk about in 2022, I should have mentioned, because we made a lot of progress on projects, but one of the coolest projects we did is redoing the ball fields at Freedom Intermediate and Poplar Grove. And it's because it's a great facility upgrade, but it's also a really cool partnership. We worked with Franklin Special School District together to say, how can we improve our facilities together to help their athletic program, to help their phys ed programs, but also to help our community and provide, because that school space is park space when it's not used by the school. So how do we activate it more? So that was a really cool partnership. It's something Lisa Clayton, our parks director, I think has dreamed about for a long time. I think she made me think it was my idea for a little bit, but we knew better. And she and David Snowden have been talking about it a long, long time in all seriousness. And we are really glad to do that. And I think there are more to come. And we'd love to have that conversation too with other partners, because it's a really great opportunity. So turn back in time, I don't know. I don't think that way very much. So I guess, I always feel like we do the best we can with the information and what we know at the time, and we just do the best around that we can. So I don't look back at anything with regret. I really feel like 2022 was quite a year of transition and reorientation after a great time of disorientation, and that really kind of continues. But I think we will continue to work on that. But I feel like we, as a community, made a lot of progress. We're not perfect. We have work to do. But this is still, in my mind, the best place in America to live. And I'm proud to work and serve here. So I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Go to Harrison. So, we're going to go to Kyle. Kyle, for the market recap. We don't have a slide for you, Kyle, but we have a slide for you.
Perfect. Well, I will, I'll jump right into the questions, and it kind of does a little bit about the market recap, but I know everyone's question right now is, what is happening in the market? Is it crashing? And I would say that this is the year of the normalizing market. So our biggest surprise of 2022, for me personally, was probably just how quickly it happened. And I've been in the industry. My mom and dad have been in the business for 30 plus years. They won't let me say more than that. So it's somewhere in there. But so I've been the beneficiary of watching a lot of markets, and I knew that it would happen quickly, but I remember the first weekend in May, the weekend before, we listed a home in Franklin Green that had 23 offers. And then the next weekend we listed one in Ladd Park that had a bunch of showings and we had 2 offers. And it was like, wow, that was a big change. But it wasn't a bad thing. It is a normalizing market. And what's really interesting is that its inventory has certainly picked up, but that has been more because buyer demand has fallen off. So we've seen the interest rates take the biggest effect on those first-time home buyers that really jumped into the market the last few years. But what's interesting is I just had a meeting with Edsel Charles, who's a local economist, I'm sure many of you know, and he said 21% of the buyers out there right now have the ability to buy with cash. So they're just hesitating and watching what's happening. No, I know, right? Me either. Not at all. So it'll be really, really interesting to see just kind of what comes into next year as interest rates start to normalize. But I think it's really important that we get ahead of these conversations that, I wish that my slide was there. I don't know why they didn't send it, but days on market jumped to 25 days on market. And for a lot of first-time home buyers who've only been in the market for the last few years, who saw houses that sold, there we go, it was, jumped from 11 days to 25 days on market. They saw that and they're like, wow, the market's crashing, but 25 days on market is really not that abnormal when you really look at our history. So inventory is picking up, but new home sales, new home construction starts are nowhere close to what we need to get back to a balanced market. In Williamson County, we're at 2.6 months worth of inventory, and in Franklin specifically, we're at 2.2 months worth of inventory. And a lot of people will say that about 6 months worth of inventory is a balanced market. So I think that was probably one of the biggest surprises, was just how quickly it changed. But the second surprise to that is, personally, I watched a lot of buyers that exited the market the last 2 years because they didn't like how fast the pace was. They didn't like competing. They didn't want to, remove all their contingencies. A lot of those buyers are resurfacing, and they're like, okay, now's my chance. Now's my time to get in the game. So I think, this panel of people know we live in one of the greatest counties in America, and that resilience that Matt talked about is going to hold true, that homeownership in Williamson County is going to continue to be a really great long-term investment. And with really solid advice and a plan, when you buy, within your means, and you buy to live there long-term, real estate will always be a great investment. So second question, I'm gonna read off your questions. One is one of the lessons we learned in 2022. I would say getting back to the basics. Something that my team and I talk about all the time is that a really well-educated and informed buyer and seller is the best client that you can work with. And so it's our job as professionals to help keep them really informed. We have to be vigilant about hyper-local data, what's happening in that neighborhood, what's happening in the home next door, and what's happening week to week. We can't just look at, these statistics are great. They show us trends and they can show us kind of what's coming, but we've got to be vigilant about staying on top of what's happening in our market from day to day. And really, I think the last few years we got away from getting homes ready to go to market, and I think this is going to come back. It really, buyers and sellers and agents kind of, I don't want to say got lazy, but we just didn't need to bring homes to market in A-list condition, and that's going to be so important over the next few years, that it has to be priced incredibly competitively, and then it needs to be in top condition. So the importance of having a realtor partner to help you make wise decisions on what improvements it needs and how to get your home in the best condition is going to be the best way to really bolster yourself to make the best splash when you come to market.
I saw some realtors celebrating that they were able to get a home inspection included in a contract or a home warranty that were things that we all assumed before what we saw in the last 2 years. So that's kind of interesting to me.
And I would say that could probably be my answer to my third question. What are you most looking forward to in 2022? Home inspections. Really, I think the slower pace is a great thing. I think that we could not sustain the rate that we were going for those several years. It was a fun and wild ride, and we all enjoyed it. But there is going to be good, modest growth over the next few years. NAR came out with their statistics that they anticipate will end the year at about a 10% growth in median price. And then over the next 2 years, we'll probably have 1 to 2% growth in 2023 and probably around 5% in 2024. And I think total volume is going to be down significantly this year as well as next year. I don't think 2024 will really see the volume increase. And I think a lot of that is buyer hesitation. Until that buyer demand picks up, the market won't be able to sustain those closed numbers that we saw for several years. And then, let's see, my last question. If you could turn back time. Well, I had my first child in 2022, so I'm not changing anything about 2022. It was such a great year. And I personally was very thankful for a slightly slower pace because it allowed me to serve my clients really well and spend a little more time with my family. But I do think that as the market normalizes, and that's really the conversation that we need to be having, is that it's normalizing. The resiliency of Williamson County is going to allow us to sustain a strong real estate economy. So we were one of the last to come into the recession in 2008, 2009, and we were one of the first out of it. And I really think that's going to hold true for our area. Again, I actually sat at McGavick's coffee shop yesterday morning for breakfast, and there was a couple that was in there staying at the hotel, and they were there for the festival, and we got to talking. They were from out of town, and they are from Bardstown, Kentucky, and they have a historic downtown, and they were like, we are just blown away by Williamson County and Franklin and what you guys do as far as a community and the culture that you have. They're like, it is so obvious when you are here why people want to live here. And I think that's something that we're going to continue to see over the next few years, is that people are going to continue to want to live here because we've got great taxes, we've got a great quality of life, and just the community here. If we stick to the kindness and grace that Eric talks about, I think we're going to really do well over the next few years. So,
thank you, Kyle. And Kyle is a past president of the Williamson County Association of Realtors and the incoming president, wwho will be installed tonight, I think.
oh no, I'm not incoming president.
No, Kathy.
Oh, Kathy is,
Moore.
yes.
Kathy Moore is the incoming president of the Williamson County Association of Realtors, and is in a class today that she says she had to take to maintain her license. So I think that was very important.
Yeah.
So we appreciate Kyle subbing in and those insights for sure. So we're going to move on, and let's see if I can. There we go. We're actually going to go to Harrison, and we're just going to give Alan the chance, because I think that'll follow nicely, Harrison, up to what you're going to talk about, to what Kyle was talking about.
Sure. Well, what I'd like to talk about basically is what happened in 2022, where banks see it. And we had our biggest struggle for 2022 was rates. Rates continue to go up. And of course, as you know, the biggest thing that happened in 2022 was one word, which is inflation. And inflation causes the rates to go up primarily. But most of our customers, my customers, and so the bankers here, especially the ones that borrow, is when are my rates going down, and the ones that have savings, when are my rates going up? So that's a big struggle that we have in banking going on right now. What happened also in 2022 was inflationary rates, and 4 things caused it. One was gas, the price of food, the supply chain, and housing. And from this time last year, 2021, to now, gas was up 58%, food was up 8%, the PCE, which is the price consumer expenditures, is up 9.1%, which has the effect on demand, supply, and the goods and products. And as Kyle talked about, residential within the state of Tennessee, It kind of went up 26% at one point in time, and nationally 12%. So the U.S. inflationary rate currently right now is 7.7%. In Tennessee, it's about 6.8%. So, you know, what the Fed does to control rates is they set the Fed funds rate. The FOMC committee, which is a committee that's made up with the Fed. We have 12 districts within our United States. Tennessee is the sixth district. So they, for the past 4 meetings, they have raised the Fed funds rate 0.75 basis points each time. Banks want to have at least a 3% spread across the Fed funds rate. So right now, prime is 7%. Well, we feel like the committee is going to meet again the 14th. And what we've been told is that they will probably raise the Fed funds rate 50 basis points, which will put prime to 7.5% by year end. 2023, we've been told and been reading that Fed funds rate will be as high as 5.5%, which is going to put prime at close to 8.5% and maybe 9%. So I'm not going to go beyond the first quarter because I think it's too volatile right now. If the Fed does not control inflation, then we're going to probably have double digit by the third and fourth quarter. I don't think that will happen. I hope it doesn't happen. But our current inflation rate, 7.7, which is the highest it's been in 40 to 42 years. There's a lot of people my age here, so you probably remember 1980. And I'm going to ask a few questions, and have my staff throw out some jerseys to see if y'all can get those questions right. But as mortgage rates, the mortgage rates follow the 10-year T-bill, the 10-year Treasury bond rate, and the Fed funds rate has a significance on that. But right now, the mortgage rates are what, 6.5 to 7%, like 6.6. So if the bond market reacts positively, then the Mortgage Bankers Association is saying by the end of the fourth quarter 2023, rates will have an average of 5.4%. That's if they can control it. It's all if. I don't like to go out more than a year because you never know. So the first quarter, we're saying mortgage rates are going to be in the 6.5 to 7.7, like 7.5% rate, which slows it down. It's slowing our business down, especially the commercial side as well. A lot of banks, the bigger banks, have cut out construction lending for this quarter. We have not, but we've been very cautious on what we do. So we have a great mortgage department too as well. But basically, we feel like rates are going to be higher the first quarter. We have gotten some discussion by the end of second quarter that rates will maybe ease. That just depends on what's going on with the economy. Y'all remember what happened to Williamson County in 2008? It was a year after California was hit with the recession. So I hope it doesn't get that way. I'm kind of negative today, but it's just reality. And so our biggest issue for 2023 is stability within our market. So we hope that the Fed can just control it and bring the inflationary rate down to an acceptable level. They want it to be 2%. So we're a little bit away from it. But that is Fed's goal, is to have inflationary rates at least 2%. So what I'm going to do is give away some jerseys right now. In 1980, most of the people were here during that time frame. What was the average inflation rate in 1980? Somebody just throw out a guess. Lower. Just a tad bit lower. Just a little bit higher. 13 point. Now, who said 13.5? Who said 13? And my staff needs to be quiet on all this. All right, what was the highest that prime rate went in 1980? 21. It's 21% in 1980 was the highest that the prime rate was in 1980. Now, this is a cool, this last question is pretty cool, especially for savers. What was the highest 3-month CD rate in 1980? Eight, 18% was the highest 3-month CD rate. For savers, that's awesome, but I don't want to be there in 1980 like it was. So I hope that we can stabilize what we have going on now. Williamson County is a great place to be, but it has slowed down with the real estate market. And as rates go up, they do affect what's going on within our economy. So,
Thank you so much. That was really informative, Harrison, and I appreciate learning a little bit more about what I needed to know about what's coming. Alan, I'm going to hand this to you.
Okay.
And that one to advance right here.
That one.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and I mean, if we're looking ahead to 2023, there's a lot of great things coming at the factory at Franklin, and we are so excited about Holiday Properties and their vision for this historic property in downtown or near downtown Franklin. So Alan Arender with Holiday Properties.
Thanks, Mindy. Good morning, everybody. You may have seen some of this if we've kind of been making the rounds to various groups around the city. So there'll be a few updates in what I go through. But yeah, this is Harrison's kind of downer outlook. This is an optimistic outlook. Yeah, those real estate guys are always really optimistic. The bankers, you never know what you don't know what you're gonna get out of them. Yeah. So what you see here is starting to take shape. The one big change that you see is the water tower's back red. So that was fun to get to do that. We actually found how did we pick the red? Well, we found Calvin had some old paint that they had used inside the factory. He said he thought that was the red that they used. So we matched it, and that's the red that's now on the tower. The logo that's up there, as soon as it's dry enough and warm enough, that also will get painted. And then so just as I'll cover some of these questions as we go through, but looking forward to 23, seeing that image or that vision take shape of the Franklin Road entry, the factory. What's not shown is the work Eric's doing across the street and in the street in front of the factory. That getting cleaned up and done. If you haven't walked the sidewalks from downtown to the factory, it is great. It's going to be another great amenity here. Don't do it at night. The lights aren't on yet. I think soon. But you can see it starting to take shape. It's really gonna be a great connection and amenity for this area. So most everybody in this room probably knows a lot of the history. And this is, coming from Allen Manufacturing in 1929, went to Dortch Stove Works and Magic Chef, Jameson Bedding, and then when Calvin saved it from demolition in the late 90s. One of the interesting things that we've uncovered, so we have a historian working on staff at the history now. One of the things we discovered was the story behind how Allen Manufacturing bought the factory. Does anybody know this? Nope. So I forget the family's name, but the husband passed away, left the land to his wife, and said she could only sell it to their children. And so she did for $1, and then bought it back from them so that she could then sell it to Allen Manufacturing. So it's true. Be careful how you write that in your anything you're passing down. So where are we headed? This is a little small, but we see this. You'll start hearing some conversations about a factory district in name and hopefully in the shape of some of the things that happen around there, but this really being the centerpiece. And we want this to be an experiential mixed-use center. I keep saying this is where we want people to come to spend loose time. There'll be shopping. There's going to be a lot of food. But we really want kind of this interactive experience. We'll have the events. That's one of the things that we love about just learning the history and talking to people, is there's so many memories and experiences that happen at the factory from different events or weddings and just life experience that we want to really emphasize that, create more, bring people to the factory. You'll see a lot of outdoor space as one of the things when we started. Inside and the architecture is great. There was really nowhere to experience what is great about the outside of it as well. I mean, that architecture also is amazing. And so creating these nodes that you'll see on later slides of what we're doing on the outdoor spaces to really welcome the community and the public. We'll have the carousel building. You've seen some of that in the news with Ken Means, who carved all the animals right there that had been at the front door. We're building a building and putting his carousel in that building. And really looking the further future, looking to 24/7 population here, everything that's happening during the day. We hope to have some residential and a hotel on the site at some point in the future. And then we'll start, probably in the spring, start some history tours. You can sign up with Karis, who's our historian. She'll walk you around, give you some of these stories that I mentioned earlier. But we're doing a fun, Christmas has been evolving out there. We've owned the factory just a little over a year, so last Christmas was really short notice to try to pull something together. But if you've been in, we've got our big 25-foot Christmas tree in there and have decorated the water tower again this year. We also have a holiday mobile bar, just a spot to gather and bring people in. So this is the areas of focus. If you haven't been out in a while, these areas outlined in blue really are the outdoor areas that we're trying to emphasize. And that work, it has started. It's hard to see it yet, but you'll start seeing that more in the spring. And those spaces coming together. And then those red outlines are the first round of exterior improvement. Really not big changes on this exterior other than some functional changes to make this, we're trying to set this up for the next 100 years. And so there are some functional things that we have to do to the historic buildings to make that work. But the city and historic and everybody's been very supportive of what we've asked, and also recognize the importance of setting it up for the longer term future. The outdoor area, a little bit more of the outdoor areas, there's going to be some renderings, but really these 4 nodes back behind Mafiosa's, which will be in front of Edley's. That announcement came out, I think, last week. And so Edley's is going to be up there on the top of the screen in that courtyard that looks at Mafiosa's now. The area under the water tower, that will be expanded. We were able to work with everybody in Franklin to we really wanted a larger area under that water tower for public gathering space, almost like a park. To do that, we had to pull some parking to Liberty Pike. Technically, that was a hard thing to accomplish, but I think everybody worked together and got to the understanding that we really needed that access. The spot under Rusty gets enhanced, and then back on the back where the courtyard outside of Mojo's is, under the smokestack, so we keep referring to that to the smokestack courtyard. That's where the carousel will go. That's where long-term we want to see the farmer's market in that area back there, where we can really close off that space, make a good, good public pedestrian-friendly area. There we go. So this is kind of top left would be as it exists now. bottom right is the image of what's happening under the water tower. And then this is that spot looking at the front, that would be to the left, and so that is just to the left of the main factory building. That'll be Edley's outdoor area, and also just patio outside the front entry. The front entry gets reworked, nice round drop-off area, maybe valet in the future, but a good kind of entry experience as you're coming in to the factory. This would be the area along Liberty Pike. Again, another look at kind of how that park under the water tower will shape, and additional landscaping and improvements along that area. Right there facing you on the left on Building 13, that's where Two Hands is like an all-day cafe. It's an Australian cafe. There, it's where Fork of the South is now. Fork of the South needs more space. We're moving them under the smokestack, and once they move, Two Hands will go there, and then we're working on what would be a fine dining restaurant in the old Viking space. If people know where that is, that would be on the right side of that lower picture. Hope to be able to announce that kind of first quarter of next year.
Ramen. Getting ramen, right?
Oh, yeah, they're in there. That hasn't been like, yeah, I don't think they've put a big release out like Edley's, but yeah, it's coming. This is that back area where where I talked about. You may park there to go to Mojo's or events or things. Locals that know where to park at the factory, this is where a lot of people go to park. Yeah, hopefully as soon as Franklin Road gets paved, our pothole problem back there will go away as well. And yeah, so a little bit more people know the story of Ken Means. If you don't, he's been carving these carousel animals, hand carved, for the last about 40 years. This has been his life's work, and we're gonna build this building, put the carousel in it. Should be a lot of fun. And then this is, so a little bit of construction progress. And so when you used to come into the factory, you came in the front door, there was a desk, like a reception desk there. So that's gone now. If you've been, we've cut these big holes in our construction wall. That construction wall was there to protect people from all of our activity, but we cut these big clear holes so people could see what's happening kind of behind the curtain. I think it's been really popular. We like seeing people look and point and see the progress. So this is from last week. We were kind of through the big destruction phase and getting into putting it back together. So top left is construction progress, and then bottom right is where we're headed. Hopefully, looking forward to 23 is that image on the bottom right is about April, is what we're projecting right now. And then you're going to start seeing, I think, every month through 23, the way it's kind of lining up, we should have new businesses, a new restaurant opening up kind of each month going through 23 and into 24. And then this is just another view of what's happening. The framework of the bar is there, and that'll start being delivered in January. And then Studio 10. This is when we talk about things unique to the factory that you can't get anywhere else. This is one of those type things that we want to see that we're going to bring more of. And we have our agreement with Studio 10 where what was Jameson Theater, if you remember, you went and it kind of was a temporary riser seating. You couldn't get up and move during the show because it would shake the whole thing, right? And so this is a partnership with us and Studio 10. We're going to rebuild that theater to be a real theater. It'll have kind of a mezzanine wrap with seating and a more still retractable. It'll be automatically retractable seating. That space. So Studio 10 will program it for about 6 months of the year, and then we'll have the ability to host other events in there the other 6 months of the year. So lots happening out there. You see some in the press. Most of our updates are happening on Facebook or Instagram. So if you're interested, go out there and follow that, and you'll see a lot of this activity start to dribble out over the next little while.
Great. Thank you so much, Alan. Thank you. Take this. So I hope you've enjoyed today. I do want to give you sort of a preview from the nonprofit world a little bit. 2022, I think everybody sort of was getting back out and restaging their events that they had to cancel because of the pandemic. We're seeing a lot of desire for service, but we're also looking for that support level in 2022. We're looking for that and seeing that regain. And then there are a lot of new projects coming on, whether that's LAG's Playground or other projects coming on board. So 2023, for Franklin Tomorrow in 2022, our big celebration was our 22 and 22 at the end of July at the factory. Thank you, Alan, for your support for that. As we look to 2023, we're going to continue our events, but we're looking at ways to make them even better for you. We're looking at doing an after event for something like Frank Talks, where a week from now, we'd have a Zoom exposure where someone would come back and talk about an aspect of today's program. It would only be on Zoom. It would be a great opportunity for you to get deeper into the subject and maybe have the chance to ask questions, because we know that's kind of frustrating sometimes when we only want to keep this to an hour, being able to ask and answer those questions. We would love to say that we're going to actually do dinner in the street. We tried to create dinner in the street inside the factory at our 22 and 22, but we really do want to do dinner in the street and have that opportunity to bring people together, because that's what our mission is about, is engage the community, foster collaboration, and then advocate for a shared vision for the future of Franklin. We love the name of this event, and we're still working out the details, but we're going to do something called Tables of 10. And stay tuned for details about what that is. We're excited to have a new board chair, and our board will vote a week from tomorrow on that, but since no one's clamoring to overthrow her, I can tell you that it appears our new board chair will be Teresa Ashworth Harris, who's here today, and we thank Patrick Baggett for his 2 years of service. Also, Franklin Tomorrow has been at the forefront of LAG's Dream World Playground, inclusive playground. We've been there, actually, I think we brought the idea forward as part of Friends of Franklin Parks. Before year's end, we will make the first half of our $25,000 contribution to support LAG's playground, and we're excited to do that. And we're going to spend a lot of time next year, all of us, being engaged in something Eric didn't mention. I'm stunned, and that is the update of the Envision Franklin land use plan. So we're going to help you all understand that, hopefully, and encourage you to become engaged in that process during 2023. So please, if you're not already following us on social media or subscribe to our emails that we send out about twice a month, we would encourage you to do that, because we'll be collaborating with the city to bring that information to a wider audience as much as we can. And then I would just say that in other nonprofits, you're going to see a lot of capital campaigns kick off or be part of the process in 2023. So educate yourself on what those are, whether it's Mercy Community Healthcare, whether it's GraceWorks, whether One Gen Away, whomever, Waves may be doing something, whoever it is, be knowledgeable about those and support those campaigns as you can. So that's what I can see forward for 2023. And we really appreciate your being here today. Here's some ongoing things coming up. The Manger is December 13th through the 16th, GraceWorks Manger, and they may need some volunteers still. But now through January 1st, the giving machines are at Cool Springs Galleria. And if you haven't seen them, you can look them up on social media, Giving Machines Nashville. They're just such a cool idea. It is a vending machine, but you can make a contribution to local and international nonprofits. And then now through December 31st, Franktown Festival of Lights at the Expo, and that benefits the Franktown organization, and it's a lot of fun. It's $25 a car, so pile in, or Wednesdays you can walk through. But you can find information on this at all of these events. We would ask you to support Franklin Tomorrow also. We are a nonprofit. All contributions are tax deductible, but you can also do it in some unique ways. You can have a historic Franklin license plate on the back of your car. We are the only city in the state of Tennessee to have our own license plate. Now, those folks in Hendersonville called me last week and wanted my advice on how to get a license plate. I said, well, I'm going to tell you, but I hope you're not successful, because then I won't be able to say it. They're very nice. Jamie Clary, their mayor, is very nice, but I just had to say, don't really want you to get that. And then if you need a quick Christmas gift or stocking stuffer, we've got the Franklinite hats outside, and they're just $20, and you can make that contribution and go from there. So thank you so much. If you're interested in being a sponsor or partner in 2023, we would appreciate that. And we look forward to seeing you in January on the second Monday. And then also mark your calendars, January 31st is Breakfast with the Mayors. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas.